at 160 and polytechnics is at 120. JAMB Registrar and Chief Executive Isha Koloyede, who said this on Tuesday in his speech at the 2020 policy meeting on the admission for the 2020 and 2021 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, added that the cutoff point for colleges of education and innovative institutions is fixed for 100. He warned institutions not to charge more than 2,000 naira for screening of candidates. The federal government has directed all medical doctors in the country to open attendance registers for striking resident doctors. Minister of Health Osage Yanire, who made the announcement on Tuesday, noted that the ministry would open a register by 7 a.m. and record those who come to work and those who fail to come. The government gave the directives as the meeting between its representatives and the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors ended in a deadlock. However, NARD President Aliyu Sokomba added that the strike would only be called off when the federal government comes up with a tangible outcome. President Muhammadu Buhari has restated his administration's commitments to protect children from sexual violence, domestic abuse and exploitation. This is according to a statement signed on Tuesday by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, in Abuja. Buhari gave the assurance as Nigeria joined the international community to celebrate the Day of the African Child. The president also affirmed that it is the right of every Nigerian child to be protected from sexual or physical violence and abuse, as well as to enjoy an environment conducive for learning and development. You're listening to the news at 10 and 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM News. Now we'll move on to the foreign scene. Ethiopia's Foreign Affairs Minister Kedu Adangachu has warned that his country might not return to the negotiation table if Egypt walks out of the current round of discussion. Speaking to newsmen in Addis Ababa on Tuesday, Kedu accused Cairo of being stubborn. The two countries, together with Sudan, resumed talks last week to solve the long-standing impasse on the Grand Renaissance Dam, which Ethiopia is currently building. Meanwhile, Egypt fears that the project will allow Ethiopia to control the flow of Africa's longest river. And still on the foreign scene, the South Korean Unification Minister Kim Yeon-chul has offered his resignation over the sharp rise in tensions with the North. Kim said he took responsibility for the worsening of inter-Korean relations. This comes a day after North Korea blew up a symbolic liaison office near the border, which was built to improve ties with the South. Also, tensions have escalated in recent weeks, partly prompted by defectors in the South. And on the entertainment scene, the Academy has announced the postponement of the 93rd Oscars due to the coronavirus pandemic. This was released in a joint statement by Academy President David Rubin and Academy CEO Dawn Hudson. According to the Academy, the delay influenced by the pandemic will see the 93rd Oscars pushed to 2021. In the meantime, the ceremony, originally billed for February 28, 2021, will allow for an extension of its eligibility period. Finally, in the news in sports, chairman of the Enugu State Joint Sports Association, Gabriel Agu, has revealed that the different sporting associations in the state have pledged their total support for the newly appointed Commissioner for Youth and Sports, Manfred Nzekwe. He made this known yesterday when the Sports Association chairmen and their secretaries paid him a courtesy visit at the State Secretariat's office, GRA. Nzekwe emphasized the need for financial support for the different associations, noting that previous commissioners have channeled their efforts towards Enugu Rangers and football matters. Reacting to the request by the association members, Manfred Nzekwe expressed gratitude for their visit and promised that his administration will turn sports around in the states. And that's the news at 10 and 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Please remember to join us again at 1 p.m. for more news updates. Until then, stay tuned for the Stay tuned for more on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Remember, if you have a need to go out, wear a face mask, wash your hands as often as possible using soap and running water, and maintain physical distancing.
Turn the volume up, ladies and gentlemen.
Turn up the music. Cause we're gonna run this town. Turn it up loud. Dream F.
Hey, this is Rihanna. This is Rihanna, and you're listening to Cold City. #1
Dream FM 92.5 FM. That plays the hits.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
Dream FM.
I know you want me. Oh, man.
Dream FM.
You know what I'm talking about.
Home of the icons.
Alright, here, welcome back to Political Voices on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. We've been talking about the challenge of problems around selection of leadership in Nigerian politics, and we've been having a very robust conversation here in the studio with Professor Ufo Okeke Ozodike, the director of Afri Heritage Institution. He's still very much around. And Chief Charlie Okwesili is former director, news, ESBS, public relations consultant, and mass communication scholar. And we have comrade neighbor Obinna Collins, who's the Enugu coordinator, not too young to run. So we've been having this conversation about what really will be the way out, because that's what this home stretch is about. I'll start with you, Professor Ufo Okeke Ozodike. There must be something we can do about the situation. If we have problems, there must be a way to solve it. So what can we start doing at this point to sort out our leadership selection problems?
I'm not sure if there is a specific thing that we must do to guarantee that we turn this around. There are a number of things that we should be looking to do. One of them, of course, first, I think it's for us to understand that there is, in fact, a problem. Those who the citizens can push this, but it requires a huge amount of citizen outburst and activities to even begin to engender something of that sort. We saw recently in the United States where people were sort of galvanized in a manner that has actually started yielding results in terms of people who are at right positions, thinking differently about issues around social justice. Can we replicate that here in this country? I actually don't think so, because there are realities on the ground. The lack of freedom. Nigeria is not a free country. I'm sorry to say that. We are in a democratic. We are supposed to be in a democratic environment, but we still have security platforms that don't seem to respect human rights in any sort of convincing way, and so it's likely to lead to all kinds of problems. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to do something, or that we shouldn't actually be trying to do even what's being done in the United States. China was once a very, very rigid country where rights were completely not respected. But those things changed very, very quickly with the Tiananmen Square uprising. So it's not, I don't think it's completely out of the line, out of the question in our country, but there are, I think, soft wins that we can try to achieve, including pushing our legislators within our various states. We've got representatives, we keep forgetting, maybe because they are they tend to be so ineffective that we tend to forget that we actually have people that we've sent to the lower house and to the upper house in this country. Given that they are not necessarily, they don't feel responsible to their citizens, that's one problem. But we can make them responsible to us. But it requires, again, a bit of galvanizing these people. Who will do this task of galvanizing them? Perhaps Collins here may be able to provide some sort of a guide in terms of what the youth can do. The youth in every country, they play a very, very important role. Is there a way that we can get them to actually lead in this particular regard? The changes that we saw in North Africa and parts of the Middle East fairly recently were led by the youth. So it's not out of the question here. Okay. But I'm not calling for revolt, but I'm calling for people to take action, because if you are waiting for God to if that praying will solve this problem, it will not solve the problem. Actions must be taken.
Okay. They say power is not given, it is taken. Chief Charlie Okwesili,
yes,
we are still talking about this issue. How do we get out of this problem? Nigeria's politics, for a lot of people, is under siege. So how do you think that particular set of people who are holding onto the processes, because from your analysis so far you tend to think that is the case, so how do we get out of that situation, speaking politically?
Thank you. Given the status quo, we have not made any move towards solving Nigeria's political leadership problem, and given what is happening now, we haven't started doing anything. Recall that there was an electoral law or bill that had gone through the crucibles in the National Assembly and went to the presidency for assent before the last election. It was ignored. Remember, there was one that was made which ought to have been, I think it was during Jonathan's time or so, that ought to have been signed, that would have made the changes. Why the present government refused to sign this pending electoral law was to enable them do what they wanted to do, and they did it. Openly removing the Chief Justice of this country, openly removing certain officers and putting those who are part of their system, and they got away with it. As long as we are under this system, it will continue, but there's a headway. Nigeria is too large to be managed the way we are doing today. When the elections in the 60s, there was war in the West. They call it Operation Wetty or something, because of the inability of the region to manage this election. And I said, if we have our small units by what restructuring, we can adopt any means suitable to us, suitable to our culture, suitable to our tradition, to be able to galvanize our people to vote. Alex, I know if election is called today, you won't willingly go to waste your time. The same thing with myself and others, because you know already once your name is written, you go. So why do you have to go under the rain or sun beating you? And they can even say whatever you have cast is nothing, and they put in what they want there. So as far as I'm concerned, let this country be restructured. Our leadership should forget about going to presidency. Let us come home. The 5 states in the southeast should come home and replan, re-strategize, so that we can have our way. I don't know whether I'm making
okay.
Yes.
All right, let's get the thoughts of neighbor Obinna Collins as we wrap up the conversation.
Okay, yeah. For the young people, we have so many challenges, and these challenges are very sequential. You know, I would like to say that from the party angle of it, there is a lack of internal party democracy, which made it impossible for even the young persons, the young people members of the political party, including women, to decide who the flag bearer is, because during this internal party election or selection of candidates, there's a lot of lobbying and confusion, and that's where stakeholders and godfatherism is played to the highest level. So it's a very big problem. Then coming to the area Prof talked about, made mention about what happened in South Africa, sorry, in North Africa, yeah, in North Africa, in some countries like in Hong Kong, I think, as well, something happened before the COVID-19. Yeah, the truth is that these are climes where there is the education system is good, is well established, you are thought about your rights, you are thought about governance and functionalities. Did you know that there was a time history was banned in Nigerian secondary schools? Nigerian youths grow, they don't know about the history of the country. Banned by the government. So it's a very big problem. A lot of persons, the education system does not even encourage people to begin to reason and think towards good governance. That's one. Then two, there is what we call poor political socialization. There is internal political discrimination, just like what is happening now in Edo State. I saw a video of young people burning down political party billboards, political parties symbols, which is uncalled for. So this lingers even in our own society. There is discrimination. Ibu onyeba, Iburu onyeba. You are from here, you are not from here. You are loyal to this person, you are not loyal to this person. The discrimination lingers even in the religious angle of it. It plays a key role, and young people are the more they are the front bearers of these movements. Then another one I want to look at is the political ideology. You see people defecting every day. Have you ever wondered why these people defect from one political to another? Even when they are elected by their people on a political platform, they defect without even the consent of their own people. Have you ever imagined that? The defection, has you linked it to any kind of political ideology? It's just like Trump defecting from Republican to Democrat. Have you ever think that the defection has any ideology backing? It's simply because of personal interest. It does not serve the interest of the people. It does not serve the interest of anybody, even in the society or the nation. It's about personal interest and personal benefit, and it lingers and it continues over time. Then he talked about social value. What value do we place? If you go into government and did not make anything like building houses or even amassing wealth, people will see you as useless person. And this creates an impression that even the leaders of today and tomorrow sees it as a way of life. So young people are at the epicenter of all these things, and they are challenged because they are not properly informed.
And the conversation will continue on and on much later maybe, and we'll have to thank you profoundly, Comrade Nebobina Collins, Enugu coordinator, Not Too Young to Run. Thank you for coming today on Political Voices.
Thank you very much.
And special thanks to Chief Charlie Okwesili, former director News, Enugu State Broadcasting Service, public relations consultant and mass communication scholar. Thank you very much for coming. And Professor Ufo Okeke Uzodike, executive director, Afri Heritage Institution. Thank you for your